We've made it through Terrapin Tuesday. Now we're on to Woody Wednesday here at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. That's Tim May, the 40-year vet. That's Andy Backstrom. We're not going to waste any time. I'm Spencer Holbrook, of course. But you already knew that. Somebody told me I was too serious in these videos. I don't know where that comes from.
You're just trying to think of clever stuff to say.
You're going to get a animated, fun Spencer in this video, Tim. Andy, I hope you guys are ready. Tim, big takeaway after talking to a whole slew of Buckeyes here in the WAC on Wednesday night.
Same thing I said Tuesday, except this came from the horse's mouth. Marvin Harrison Jr., yeah, he's still got whatever twinges in that right ankle, but he's good to go. He's good to go. He's going to play. There was no way he was going to be held out of the Notre Dame game after he came out with that sprained ankle. They put him in the tent. They diagnosed it, retaped it probably twice. They finally gave him his helmet back when he showed he had mobility. He went back in the game and made one of the great catches on that great touchdown drive that won the game. So, yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr., as he said, there was no way. Somebody asked him that question about, you're going to be a high first-round draft pick. Do you ever think about it? No. He's all about winning games. And it's not, this isn't La-La Land. He's all about winning games, getting to the national championship game and winning that. I know that's what he's all about, and I think he's already proved it once this year.
Yeah, I think if Ohio State would have played Saturday, I'm not sure if we would have seen Marvin Harrison Jr.
But they didn't.
But they didn't. So the off week came at a perfect time. Andy.
Yeah, Lathan Ransom said to Tim's question about explosives, how do you keep going with limiting those? He said, well, to quote Kobe Bryant, the job's not finished. And I guess at this point, you're 4 games in, you haven't allowed a play of 40 or more yards from scrimmage, but that's only 4 games in. You're playing a Maryland team that likes to just rack up those explosive, actually has a number they search for. I think it's 12 a game.
Yeah.
And they had 9 last week. So they're coming in with a lot of firepower and trying to hit the big play against this Ohio State defense that hasn't given up the big play. They know that, and they're ready to be disciplined once again.
They're coming in big game hunting because Ohio State's big game, and they're coming in big game hunting with the idea of hitting big plays. That is absolutely correct. And I always thought Western Kentucky was going to provide that first test. I think it kind of did, and Ohio State passed that with flying colors. But definitely this team is going to come in trying to get big plays. That's enough said.
Which leads me to my one big thing, I guess. Maybe we can
one big thing. Stick
maybe
with that
we
big,
can. Maybe we can coin that term here on Woody Wednesdays in the WAC.
Big thing.
Josh Proctor was talking about how one of the guys in the secondary, and I was walking over there, so I didn't even hear who he was referring to at first, but he said he had that dog in him. I love that phrase. These guys talk about just being dogs. So I asked him, hey, what's it like playing with Davison, who is the most physical corner I've ever watched? I know that he's not the most physical corner you've ever watched him. You've seen a lot of football.
Antoine Winfield is always going to be first on that list. Go ahead.
But, Davison really gets into these. He will get up in your mug and disrupt your day.
Similarities to Jeffrey Okudah are accurate.
And so that leads to what both of you guys were talking about. Maryland wants to score on you. They want to hit explosives. This team not only wants to limit explosives, but it wants to be very physical in doing it. Josh Proctor said this is the most physical secondary that he's seen at Ohio State since 2019. I agree with him. I'm going to write a story about it at lettermonroe.com. Denzel Burke talked about how much energy they feed off of with Davison and how physical he is, and Jordan, and even Denzel when he needs to be. And then I asked Jordan about it, and he said that he and Davison kind of compete with each other about who's more physical. So all of that is to say, it's almost like an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. This Maryland team is very good at getting over the top. This Ohio State team is very good at limiting you over the top, and they will get up in you in the process.
Yeah.
And I think there's a tenacity to this Ohio State defense that we haven't seen in quite a while, Tim.
Yeah, and this is not a stretch. I mean, this is, in my opinion, the best secondary we've seen since 2019 here. I truly believe that. Of course, the tests are going to keep coming, as Lathan Ransom said. This ain't the time. It's the time to knock on wood. It's not the time to accept awards. And but I agree with all of that. But what stands out to me most about this secondary compared to last year, almost all year, it's almost like if you were watching the game and you were a fan of the secondary, it's like you were on pins and needles every play, every pass play. Now there's a certain confidence that this group is exuding, in my opinion, no matter who is in there. And Davis Igbinosun has a lot to do with that, but so does Josh Proctor, the way he brings the wood. This is Woody Wednesdays, right? The way he brings the wood. Lathan Ransom is playing on another level compared to this time a year ago, and I thought he was pretty good last year, but the competence there, and we've already talked about Denzel Burke. reflections of 2021 when he was a freshman. He is so much better than even then, in my opinion, through 4 games. We'll see if that can continue.
Yeah. Jordan Hancock, too, as you mentioned, like another guy that can
Yeah.
just bring it.
I
And think we've
didn't
seen
mean
that.
to leave him out.
Yeah, I think we've seen him
He's one of my
more in that role this year, just at the nickel spot.
Yeah.
There was a lot of still Notre Dame talk today, just because we hadn't talked to a lot of these guys.
By the way, we left out Sonny Styles too. I'm sorry about
Yes, all those DBs really. There was a lot of Notre Dame talk. Still, we hadn't
There was.
talked to a lot of these guys since then, so it makes sense. Some funny moments I felt like were Josh Fryer admitting he didn't know there was only 10 men on the field until he was on the plane. When he saw an ESPN notification, they kind of pointed it out and counted all the numbers up. He said a few of the other linemen kind of noticed it in the moment. Like Donovan Jackson was one of the few that did. I thought that was interesting. Marvin Harrison Jr. said, we've always believed in Kyle McCord. Now you guys do, and kind of pointing to the media, maybe the national media a little bit more, and just saying like everyone knows who he is now, but we always had confidence in Kyle McCord. I thought that was noteworthy. And then Chip Trainum, talking to him again. I know he talked after the game, but just fleshing out that moment more. Just very humble player, and but also confident in knowing that he came here and he said, I didn't come to Ohio State for one moment like that. I came to Ohio State for many moments, and that's what he said to Tony Alford on Monday. So I think those are all noteworthy moments from that game that, as Tim wrote about this week, can be a springboard for this team. And the first test for that is Saturday against Maryland, to, of course, not have the hangover from the off week and try to build off of it.
And it's
and
so
about springboard, I'm talking more about the fact that this group knows offense, defense, and even special teams knows it can get the job done. It's been proven to them. That's important. I've covered a lot of teams here, man, and you can see confidence go and come, or come and go. And it's so important once you get a game like that. But it is, and you're fixing to touch on this too, this is by far not anywhere close to the biggest challenge they're going to have this season.
But I think it's very interesting and very noteworthy, Tim, and Andy, I guess, that a team can score 17 points in a game. A team that's so accustomed to scoring 40, 50, 60 on everybody. A team can score 17 points in a 60-minute game, 17 points in 60 minutes, and feel so confident on the other side of it. Like, if you would have told me 2 years ago, let's go back to
last year.
Let's go back to 2021, Tim, when 28 wasn't enough against Oregon. 28 wasn't enough against Michigan. And all of a sudden, you're on the road in prime time, and 17 gives you a confidence boost against Notre Dame. I know that the game script is the game script, and it was a rock fight between two teams that really couldn't score, both of them. And that was just the way that the game played out. You see those all the time. LSU and Alabama played a 9-6 game when both offenses were pretty good, but that's just the way the game script was. This Ohio State team can score 40, but it needed a 17-point performance to get the confidence to go out and do the 40s later in the year.
I'm getting better at not interrupting, don't you think?
I think so.
I think I am. But
good job,
It doesn't
Tim.
mean I don't have the impulse, the urge. But I said it right after that game that night. That was
on the
Ohio
field.
State,
We were on the field.
Exactly, where we weren't supposed to be.
Only ones on the field.
Ohio State won a defensive struggle that night because Notre Dame was throwing haymakers on defense too.
Oh yeah.
We can sit here because we cover Ohio State, so we're gonna dissect everything that went wrong on those 3rd and shorts, 4th and shorts and stuff. Flip side of it is Notre Dame made plays on those plays.
Oh yeah.
Their defense did, but could Ohio State have won a defensive struggle? No, they didn't. So who knows what defines a defensive struggle? Anytime both teams don't get to 20, that's a defensive struggle. Like you said, a rock fight.
Unless it's Iowa, that's just offensive malfeasance.
Yeah, but look what Ohio State did to Iowa last year. You understand what I'm saying? That's where when you feel like you've got a defense that can compete with anybody, can not just keep you in a game, but maybe throttle another team. It changes everything about the dynamic of your whole football team.
Yeah.
And Ryan Day is really, I'm not even sure if he probably had that feeling a little bit in 2019, but I don't think he had it like he has it now.
Yeah.
About this defense.
Well, it's complementary football, and it's helping this offense have time to click.
Yeah.
Because at some point this season, we all feel it, that things are going to click for this offense in a way that we're all accustomed to it clicking against power conference teams.
Could be in 3 days.
Could be in 3 days, and we'll see. But I think that's the big thing is that this defense is helping this offense have time to get there. They didn't have to be there on day one.
They did click in the second quarter against Western Kentucky,
Right.
but that
Yeah,
was clickety-clack.
asterisks.
That was more clickety-clack.
And that's also the defense clicking. Two
Oh,
defensive
yeah.
touchdowns.
Oh, yeah.
And again, that's another
Yeah.
thing. This defense needs to continue to help the offense with the way teams are playing Ohio State and limiting possessions. They can give them more possessions. So maybe we'll see that on Saturday.
By the way, speaking of toughness, Cade Stover, we were talking to him about, about the way he kind of looked at the end of the game at Notre Dame. 11 catches. Are you kidding me? On that winning drive, he knocks that defender coming off the line. He knocks that defender down. I mean, you coming off the line and then catches that. It's only like a 3 or 4 yard gain. This guy's getting hit and whatever. And I asked him, is it Advil, Motrin? He goes, his favorite is ibuprofen. But the point is,
Same.
you've got a guy there in a leadership role. I didn't mean to jump into this, but
No.
you've got a guy there in a leadership role that's going to stay there until he's carried off on the field. You understand what I'm saying?
Drag me out in a pine box.
drag me out. It was a knockdown, drag out fight, and he stayed in there.
Yeah. What you're about to see behind us is a certain 6'4", 200-pound wide receiver who happens to be a potential first-round pick going to the Monarch machine because he does not stop. Marvin Harrison Jr. got some ice around that right ankle, but that's not going to deter him from making some catches with Reese Stocksdale out there. Reese Stocksdale doing it on a torn ACL too. So those two guys, a little hobbled, a little banged up, not going to keep them off the field. And I don't think it's going to keep Marvin Harrison off the field on Saturday against Maryland at noon on Fox. Letterman Row will be there. Letterman Row will have full coverage like we do every day, 365 days a year on these Ohio State Buckeyes. The 40-year vet Tim May, Andy Backstrom, Matt Parker behind the camera, and me, Spencer Holbrook, we'll all be there for a joyous occasion. Ohio State and Maryland. Mike Loxley and Ryan Day get together. You never know what you're going to get. It's like a little box of chocolates.
Can I
Tim.
interject something?
Real
Matt
quick.
Parker's never looked better than behind that camera. Go ahead. Now.
I know, yeah. Yeah, he and Casper back there behind the camera. We love you, Matt. Until then, though, go to LettermanRow.com where you can see a little update on Marvin Harrison Jr. I wrote that. We'll have some secondary talk on there. I'm sure we'll talk offensive line. Tim's going to have a couple more things this week. And the lead up again to Ohio State and Maryland. Go check all that out. $1 for 1 month right now. That's a hell of a deal. And you get it all the way through the Penn State game into Rutgers and then on to Michigan State game. I think you'll get all of that with your 1 month of coverage for $1. And then you can figure it
It's a
out.
hell of a deal, man.
I would agree with that, Tim. But until then, we'll see you guys there at LettermanRow.com.
That's
Thanks
cheaper
for
than
watching.
Peacock.
It is cheaper than Peacock. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys back in the Woody on Friday for bold predictions.